This meeting is back in session. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the
United States of America,
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We do have one presentation this evening. Mr. Mayor.
Good evening, council and administration and our residents. I'm going to call Quinn Kong up from the Wing Hong restaurant at 10 Mile in Southfield. Quinn. And you may remember that several weeks ago we in the aftermath of Hurricanes Harvey and Irma, people were looking, is there something we can do locally to show our support for the people who have been victims of these horrific storms? And as we were looking here to do something, Quinn contacted me and said, you know, Wing Hong Restaurant wants to open the doors on Sunday, September 18th, and every dime that we take in that day in sales, we will donate to hurricane relief. And so I know last council meeting I acknowledged the folks that came attended the benefit at Wing Hong on the 18th and thanked them. But shortly thereafter, I got a call, and so about exactly how much money was raised. And the money, all of the money goes to, and I'm passing this around for the council, the Tzu Chi Foundation, which is a Taiwanese foundation. It was started in Taiwan 52 years ago. And as it spread to the Taiwanese American community. And what's neat about this foundation is that they are totally volunteer. Everything they do is a volunteer operation, and consequently they have no administrative costs in their foundation. So every single dime that was raised for hurricane relief goes to hurricane relief. So we, first of all, you might want to, I'll let you explain what you've done.
No problem. This is, again, the foundation called Chuzi, and it's a Taiwanese organization, and the direct translation is called Compassion Relief. So pretty much the process is that through compassion, you start pretty much seeing people as not just regular people or strangers, but as your brothers and sisters. So when you start seeing them, when you see brothers and sisters in need, you help them. So that's pretty much how the name means and what they're pretty much all about. So I want to thank pretty much the City of Southfield for pretty much helping spread the word and making this a huge success. We were able to raise over exactly $7,070.20. And also, on top of that, I do want to thank the residents of Southfield because the amount of food purchases was $5,158.79. But we received an additional $1,911.41 in donations. We've had many people of the residents of City of Southfield who brought their checkbooks and brought additional money and said, keep the change, we need to donate, they need our help. So I want to thank, it's so heartwarming, it's amazing. It just kind of shows that when we all work together as a community, amazing things can really happen. So thank you very much, everybody.
We appreciate Wing Hong Restaurant, and I'll give a shameless plug for them. This Wing Hong has been here for 51 years. It is, I believe, the longest continuously operating restaurant in the city. And this young man is the third generation of the family to operate the restaurant. We're glad you're here. Thank you for your civic consciousness.
Mr. Mayor,
Appreciate you.
when he put the photo up, he kind of turned it toward the council. Maybe he turned it the other way so the audience can see what it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item on our agenda are appointments, and there are 3 appointments. Mayor, I think all 3 are yours.
Yes, I have 3 appointments this evening to the City Center Advisory Board. 2 are reappointments, and 1 is a new appointment. The new appointment fills the expanded City Center Advisory Board. So I'd like to call up Linda Height from Lawrence Technological University. I'd like to, who is being reappointed to the board, or I'm asking for her reappointment. Hassan Jawad, I did not see him here this evening, who is most of you know Hassan. He's a business owner in Southfield City Center 1 and 2 buildings down the street. And then our new appointment to the newest seat is Matus Nowakowski, who, this is a coup for us. Just as having Linda, who is the VP, the CEO of Finance at Lawrence Tech. Mr. Nowakowski is the Vice President of DUR. So we're extremely proud to recommend this appointment to the council.
Council.
Chair, I'd like to move the appointment to the City Center Advisory Board for Mr. Nowakowski and the reappointment of Mr. Hassan Jawad and Ms. Linda Height.
Support.
It's been moved by Mr. Mandelbaum, supported by Ms. Ms. Morris, that we appoint Mr. Nowakowski to the City Center Advisory Board and reappoint Mr. Jawad and Ms. Height. Is there any discussion? Are we prepared to vote? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried.
Thank you, council. I will
Madam
ask.
Clerk?
Thank you. Clerk, to swear you in.
If I could have you both raise your right hand, please. Do you hereby swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of this state, and the Southfield City Charter, and that you will faithfully on the City Center Advisory Board and for the City of Southfield, County of Oakland, State of Michigan, according to the best? Can you sign the book, please? And congratulations. Thank you. Could I have you sign right here, please? Yes. Congratulations. Thank you.
Hey, Linda, congrats again. Thank you. Mr. Nowakowski, hi, nice to meet you. Congratulations.
So you're Linda Height.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Welcome.
First name is Susie, no? First name. First name? No. What is your first name? Matt. You can call me Matt. That's Jewish. Congratulations.
Forget the color of this shirt. Forget that Steve's gone. The next item on our agenda is we have 3 sets of minutes to approve.
Chairman,
Mr. Fakasi?
I'll move the minutes of special meeting August 14th, regular meeting of August 14th, Committee of the Whole of August 21st.
Been moved by Mr. Fracassi, supported by Mr. Cruz, that we approve the special meeting of August the 14th, 2017, the regular meeting of August 14th, 2017, and the Committee of the Whole of August 21st, 2017. Is there any discussion? Are we prepared to vote? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried. The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. And we have a number of items on a consent agenda. The first item is assigning an officer to the Oakland County Automobile Theft Task Force, which we talked about in the first part of the meeting. And the police chief asked to permission to put one of his officers on the Oakland County Automobile Theft Task Force. And the task force will cover half of it, the cost of him being there, and the city will cover half the cost of him being there. The committee is one that works on the theft of tires and wheels and theft from automobile property. Our major crimes have gone down, I think he said another 12 or 14%.
14.
Another 14%, and which is really good. But this task force deals with theft from automobiles, and that has become quite a problem here in Southfield and other communities. Item B is Almost Home animal shelter facility improvements. And in January of this year, we approved $300,000 to renovate and expand Almost Home Animal Shelter. And when we hired an architect to do that, we found out that there were enough things that had to be upgraded that it turned out to be well more expensive than we had considered. So they're asking us to approve using a portion of that money, not more than $60,000, to form a task force to raise funds, capital funds, to enlarge the animal shelter. Before we had the animal shelter, the year before we had the animal shelter, we spent over $100,000 for police officers to transport stray animals or animals that had been taken from homes that were abused and taking them to other shelters. So this is why we're doing this project. Item C is agreement with the Road Commission for Oakland County for winter road maintenance. And we do this each year. There are 3 roads that we plow along with the Oakland County Road Commission. They plow some roads, but their primary duty is other roads and even the trunk lines. I see the snow plows from Oakland County on Telegraph Road plowing that after a snow. So they ask us to help them maintain the 3 roads, which are Lasser, 12-mile, and 10-mile road, which are all Oakland County roads. So they offset a portion of that. They're going to pay us $103,833.72 to plow those roads. The next item is the Southfield Police Department Taser Replacement Program. And right now, the police have purchased 22 newer tasers than the ones we have. The ones we have, which are out of date, They've lost their warranty, and they needed to be upgraded. So they're asking to buy 109 X2 Class 3 tasers with holsters to replace the current expired tasers. And the payment for that will be over a 5-year period. The taser company has increased the warranty from 4 years to 5 years, so we have that. And we will get, as we turn in the old tasers, we will get, I think it's about $100 a piece for rebate on turning those tasers in. So that will be over a 5-year, the cost will be allocated over a 5-year period. The first payment is, let's see, what is the first payment? $35,000, I think it is. All right, next item is receipt of bids for the demolition and site clearance of 28165 Greenfield. And excuse me a second while I get back to the right page. We have some building that is going for the cost of $97,000, and it was filed transferring the ownership of 28165 Greenfield to by a quitclaim deed, and it needs to be demolished. So we're going to demolish that residence. Next item is receipt of bids for the demolition and site clearance of 21558 Sherman, and for that the winning bid is Blue Star Incorporated in Warren for $15,300, and that's 21558 Sherman. The next item is authorization to acquire pollution liability insurance for the former Northland site, which we talked about in the first part of our meeting, and that is to protect us for the 10 years following the demolition of the buildings on Northland for any contamination that that will be considered our problem. So we talked about earlier, and the consensus was to put that on the consent agenda. And the cost of the insurance is $158,000 for $10 million of protection, and that $10 million covers 10 years.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I'd like to move the approval of consent agenda items A, B, C, D, E, F, and G.
Support?
It's been moved by Mr. Cruz, supported by Mr. Mandelbaum, that we approve consent agenda items A through G. Is there any discussion? Are we prepared to vote? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried. And the next item on our agenda is public hearing A, and it's a request from Jonah Realty Ventures to establish an industrial development district under Public Act 198 of 1974.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have tonight two public hearings which need to be conducted in regards to the establishment of an industrial development district, also known as Public Act 198 of 1974. Council may recall in earlier meetings that the Jonah Realty Ventures Group is requesting the establishment of a district. That is the first hearing. The second hearing is actually the assignment of a number of years to the project. With me this evening is Gordon Thomas with Autoliv, and he'll be making a brief PowerPoint presentation to City Council this evening.
If you would give your name and business address for the record.
Gordon Thomas, 26545 American Drive, Southfield.
Thank you. Do you have anything to add to the presentation?
I do not.
Okay. If you would have a seat there.
Yeah, I mean, I have a presentation to
Pardon?
show, if that's okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Sure, it's on the.
Then you do have something to add.
I misunderstood
Yeah,
the question,
okay.
sorry. So I have a few slides to introduce Autoliv as a company, and then a few more slides to talk specifically about our consolidation and expansion project in the city,
Okay.
which we call Project Wildcat. So Autoliv, who are we? So we're a technology leader focusing in safety systems. And that means we work on and develop airbags, seatbelts, and a number of different safety electronics. So I've got a graphic on the screen of a car where you can see the various products that we have in production and development. And it's everything from the airbags themselves to the sensors which sense a crash, and then that information goes to fire the airbag, the electronic control units associated with those systems, radar sensors, vision sensors of various kinds, and other safety equipment. Our global sales are around $9 billion, and in the United States, our sales approximately $3 billion annually. We're a Fortune 500 company. We have around 83 facilities in 27 countries, and those include 21 engineering centers. And we have 70,000 employees worldwide, and just over 6,100 in North America. And we service all of the major OEMs globally, and you can see most of those are indicated in the lower right. We're very much driven by our guiding principles. So our vision is to save more lives. That's the main focus of our company. Whenever we think about a new project or product, we think, how does this further our vision to save more lives? Our mission is to be the leading supplier of safety systems for the future car, as well as to be very well integrated with autonomous driving. And our values are to be one Autoliv, which means we try to follow the same procedures and techniques globally, to be very transparent with our employees as well as with the public, to be innovative, and to be agile. So currently in the Southfield area, we're spread across 4 different locations. We have 2 floors of the American Center on Franklin Road. We have the North and South building on American Drive, which is more or less just down the street from American Center. And then we have another facility in Farmington Hills on Inkster Road. What we've been finding is, one, it's not ideal to be spread across multiple locations. And 2, as we continue to hire and grow, we need more space than the current buildings afford us. So our project is a build-to-lease facility. So the builder being Jonah, we would lease it from them to accommodate our electronics organization. That will allow us to consolidate all 4 buildings into the one location, as well as continue to expand and add employees. The objectives of our project are to attract new talent so that we can continue to develop our life-saving products. We will have a very modern, clean, state-of-the-art facility, and that will go a long way to attract new talent to this area. Customer demand for automotive safety technology just continues to grow, both with the products that are on the market today as well as advancements in semi-autonomous and autonomous driving. And in order to meet those customer needs, we need to hire more employees, and obviously we need more space to do that. And then, as I mentioned before, having people spread across 4 different buildings is not the most efficient way to conduct our business. So we want to have everybody under one roof and allow us to work in the best way possible. We did look at other locations. We have other locations in Utah as well as Ohio, but we decided to stay here within Southfield. Part of that is the state and local incentives, and a large part of it is just we really enjoy being in Southfield. It's a great place to have our business. So the location of the building is shown on the map. It's roughly in the 696 Telegraph intersection area. It is across the street from our North and South building on American Drive and right next door to the American Center on American Drive. So it's very convenient. It's in the same location essentially as 3 of our current buildings on a greenfield lot. some more information about the building itself. So we'll be transferring about 600 employees into the new building from the other locations. And we plan to add 250 new jobs over the next 5 years. These will be managerial jobs, operators, professional jobs of various kinds, sales, and technical. Essentially, this is one of our technical centers. So we don't do manufacturing or production here, but we do engineering development and testing here. It's 180,000 square feet, 4 stories, and as I mentioned, it's going to be brand new, so we're looking for cutting-edge design, a very advanced infrastructure within the building, and for it to be very environmentally friendly. And then touching on our various partnerships with Southfield, we get involved with a lot of different events within Southfield, as well as in the Metro Detroit area. And the nice thing about what we get involved in at Autoliv is it's all driven from a ground level approach. So that means all of our activities that we get involved with, the charities and volunteer events, are brought forth by employees in our company. So it's not driven down from the top, it's brought up from the ground level, where people who have an interest in a particular charity or event or a passion about it, they organize it internally, they rally the employees around them, and we take part. So I've listed a number of different activities we've taken part in the Southfield area. Relay for Life being a recent one, as well as Operation Backpack, which has been a huge success across the board. And in addition, our employees really enjoy taking part in the different activities and facilities that Southfield has to offer. So the library, Parks and Recreation, and certainly Eat to the Beat has been very popular these last few times. That's all I have.
Okay. This is a public hearing, so if you take a seat. This is a public hearing. If anyone wants to speak on the public hearing, come to the microphone. Give your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
I'm surprised to see that the Business Development Director, Shelley Freeman, is not here today presenting such a tax abatement. Pamela Gerald, P.O. Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037-0155. I don't know why the city of Southfield won't just designate itself as a brownfield or tax abatement city. We still seem to just be giving away a lot of tax abatements, and I don't know that I necessarily agree or disagree with this, but you know, when you give a tax abatement and you say that you're going to have 250 jobs, what does a company like Autoliv do to get your employees to move to the city of Southfield? If we're a great place to have a business and to have a tax abatement, then shouldn't the employees want to live where they work? I mean, it's not like a requirement, but I just wanted to give you a little food for thought. Are you going to offer your employees an incentive to move to the city of Southfield, getting this tax abatement and creating these additional 250 jobs? The other thing I wanted to comment on is I noticed up there for the company's civic duty that they gave away 45 backpacks. That's a good thing, but we have a couple of law firms in the city of Southfield that gives away hundreds of backpacks. So I'm hoping with a company of your size that you might want to increase the amount of backpacks that you give to the students, because we have a lot of kids in this city and surrounding cities and in southeastern Michigan that just cannot afford to buy school supplies. So why don't the city consider again, at my recommendation, to just designate the city of Southfield as a brownfield or tax abatement city, and then these companies don't have to waste time coming up here going through the formality when you're already going to vote for it. I'm glad that they're in the city of Southfield and wish them great success, but just consider some of the things that I said, and I would appreciate that very much. Thank you. And thank you to the council people for allowing my husband, when I had my throat surgery, to do my speech for me. I do want to thank you for that. Bye. And I'm feeling good, residents. A laser couldn't keep me down or shut me up. I'm still your independent voice. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak? If so, come to the microphone. You have 3 minutes. Give your name and address for the record. Seeing no one, I will declare the public hearing closed. Council?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Fracassi.
I move the following resolution regarding the request that's before us tonight.
Support.
It's been moved by Mr. Fracassi, supported by Mr. Cruz, that we approve the request from Jonah Realty Ventures to establish an industrial development district under Public Act 198 of 1974, as amended. Is there any discussion? Are we prepared to vote? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried. We have public hearing B, which is industrial facilities exemption certificate for Autoliv. Mr. Administrator?
If I may, Mr. President, this portion of the hearing assigns the number of years. The administration and staff is recommending 12 years. In 1996, City Council adopted a policy relative to the consideration of tax abatements along with the following goals when considering approval for industrial development districts. A, to reduce property taxes as an obstacle to a development of problem parcels, to assist with the rehabilitation of older facilities and their expansion of existing facilities, to enhance over the long run the tax base of the city of Southfield. D, to encourage development that will increase the economic viability of the city. E, to create and retain employment from existing facilities that might otherwise leave the city to enhance the general attractiveness of the community. We believe this project of the expansion, the new facility, 184,000 with the 250 new jobs plus the existing 600 exceeds the goal, and council has a table in your packet that details this. For the public's knowledge, this tax abatement is a 50% tax abatement on real property. The company still would be paying the 50% on the remaining investment, and the investment is in the total project exceeds $32 million on estimate.
Okay. Do you have anything to add? Okay. This is a public hearing. If anyone wants to speak, please come to the microphone. Give your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Could anyone from the council just basically clarify what the procedure was when we discussed the amount of years that a brownfield or a tax abatement would get? Seems like I remember an African-American apartment complex owner coming in, and also another gentleman coming in that was trying to get a 12-year tax abatement on basically rehabbing their apartment complex. And I think that this council said it was either 5 years or 7 years. I just want to know, is there a particular reason why you guys have decided to do 12 years? And if so, what's the rationale behind it? Does the number of years that you abate the taxes depend on how much they're spending, whether or not they're building a new facility? Can you just explain the criteria to the residents that are here? Why a 12-year tax abatement? And again, I wish you luck, Autoliv or Live. But can you explain that? And I'm going to yield the rest of my time.
When people come to the microphone, we don't give answers at that time because the staff may need to have time to study it, so I will refer this to our city administrator. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on this public hearing? If so, please come to the microphone. Seeing no one, I will declare the public hearing closed. Council.
Mr. President, I'd like to just respond to the questions. The first questions in the first public hearing, the act has certain qualifying factors. That's why you don't just declare the whole city a brownfield. Brownfield is a separate piece of legislation, a separate act. The Industrial Development District is a separate act. The question raised as regarding the public hearing B on the assignment of the number of years, the project that Ms. Gerald was speaking to pertains to an apartment property, which is a different statute, and in that time we were looking at a Public Act 210. I'm sorry, I don't know the exact year right now, and there are different rules and regulations governing how we assign the years and how we go through that exercise. This company, in the qualifying factor, as a manufacturer, engineering firm, they met the definitions of a Public Act 198. That's what their basis of eligibility. Most rental properties, commercial properties, are not eligible for any tax abatements. They are eligible pursuant to PA 210 to have their assessments capped for a number of years. And that's, we were looking at the investment and the assessment made. Hope I've answered or helped clarify those questions.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Fracassi.
Mr. Chair, I'll move that the approval of the industrial facility exemption certificate for Auto Live and include the attached resolution.
Do I have a second?
Support.
It's been moved by Mr. Fracassi, supported by Ms. Morris, that we approve the public hearing on industrial facilities exemptions certificate for Autoliv as presented, including the tax abatement.
Question.
Any questions?
You have one.
Okay, Mr. Mandelbaum.
Mr. Zorn, looking at this spreadsheet, over the 12-year period, the city will still be receiving just under $3 million in taxes? That's directed
correct.
to the city, is that correct?
That will be coming to the city.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, Mr. President, also just along with that same point, just asking for clarification. So just because the 12 years is requested doesn't mean that that has to be the number of years approved by council. We can amend that request, is that correct? Or is this case different than what you were mentioning, like with the apartment complexes and such?
The formulas that we're using were the formulas established in 1996 on the investment, but the investment on the apartments, would need to research the exact number, but it wasn't anywhere near the 32 million in renovation. Here we're simply looking at pursuant to Act 198. The formula is defined in 1996 by City Council, and this exceeds all of those measures at that time. And if you look at the one chart, the job created with, in essence, retaining 600 and another 250 jobs, you're actually off your chart. And,
okay. Off the top of my head, the fellow that came and was doing the apartment complex came back later on and withdrew his request for tax abatement because he wasn't doing capital project. It wasn't a capital project. He was
that was the other part of the story. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
he was just refurbishing what he already had.
That's correct.
It was also a $3 million request, considerably lower than this.
Oh, of course. Okay. Any other questions? Are we prepared to vote? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried.
Thank you.
The next item is a new item that's for the audience that's not on your agenda, but it's something we talked about in the early part of our meeting, and it's the septic to sewer issue that we've had a number of people come and express their concerns over the current plan. And we have a short slide presentation that our deputy administrator is setting up. So We'll see that shortly.
This one, right? May I, Mr. President? Roughly 28 days ago in front of City Council, an issue came in front of the council pertaining to the city's goal of getting more people connected from their septic systems to the sanitary system. Mayor Seibert recently met with representatives of the Beechwood Neighborhood Association, and after some extensive conversation, we think we've hammered out and we have recommended to City Council an agreement. And I just want to walk people through the history on this. In 1998, the city of Southfield approved funding for the completion of a sanitary sewer system primarily west of Telegraph. The project affected 32 miles of residential roads and over 1,800 single-family homes, predominantly on the west side of the city. Prior to this project, these homes were in areas without access to trunk line sewer system. Council carefully made provisions that there were to be no automatic requirements that residents tied to the sewer upon completion of the construction sewer trunk lines. Provisions were made that the septic tanks be inspected and re-inspected every 3 years, there to determine proper functioning. If the septic system is sound, residents do not need to do anything. However, the septic tank shows problems such as leaking or polluting, the homeowner will be required to take action to either repair the problem, replace the private system, or tie into the sanitary system. During the Beechwood Acres neighborhood meeting, the board agreed to the following: that maintenance, repair, or replacement of septic tanks or septic fields are the homeowner's responsibilities. Residents must continue to have their septic systems inspected. An education component to be created and offered to residents so that they can make more informed decisions on connecting to city sewer and city water versus the replacement of failing systems. Many residents stated that they did not know that the homes they purchased were on septic fields until they had a problem. The loan program for sewer installation will not be applicable to septic system repair or replacement. So these are the points that the administration and staff is recommending. This morning, my team assembled city attorney, representatives from the building, engineering, code enforcement to review this, and these are the points, and they're in conjunction to the points the mayor was able to hammer out with his last meeting. Current connection is mandatory for failed systems. The proposed homeowners will have the option of repairing or replacing their septic system if it fails. So if their system's not working, they can have it repaired or replaced or connected to our system. We'll also work with people to understand the cost of replacing those systems. A non-engineered system, just the tank itself, can be $4,000 to $6,000. The field anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000. I'm aware of a situation on Circle Drive where an engineered system is in excess of $30,000. Our typical connection currently with tap and connection runs anywhere from $15,000 to $18,000. So again, we want to educate people, let the homeowner make the decision that is best for them. Tap fees. The current tap fee for people tapping into the new system is $7,706 per home. When the system was originally put in, it was in the $6,000. It was going up $100 per year. The proposed is the tap fee will be reduced to $5,000 per home, and it'll stay flat. Other improvements: the city will improve and expand the list of sewer contractors. The city will review and better define what a septic system inspection entails. We currently have a 3-page inspection. What we're envisioning is that we will do on an annual basis a workshop here at City Hall. We'll have a representative from the Oakland County Health Department come in and talk about septic sewers and wells. We'll probably even have that produced as a video as well. the city will obtain group pricing for for sewer installs. We currently have out on the streets a bid for unit pricing for digging and install what your excavation cost may be, unit cost for piping, unit costing for pumps, kind of trying to get a better deal. Again, we'll only provide that as an alternative to the residents. Our residents will be free to go and get any private contractor they want, but there will be contractors that we have vetted and have approved pricing. And that is in response to some homeowners who felt that as the work was being done, change orders came in. Some people felt that there may have been price gouging. Again, those were contracts between the homeowner and private resident. We're trying to get a better checks and balance there. The city will continue to investigate grant funding for sewer installs during this council study session. One of those items will be proposing a deferred loan based on income eligibility of the homeowner at the time of sewer connection to assist with the tap fee. It should be also noted that we're looking at those individuals who currently have loans. We would be reducing their tap fees to that flat $5,000 and making a credit to their loan. This is what we've proposed earlier to City Council, and happy to answer any questions.
You
Ms.
did
Morris?
mention an education component earlier?
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
On the education component, we'd bring a representative in from the Oakland County Health Department. There's an expert there on septic systems and wells. We would videotape that. The other item kind of in the educational venue is the checklist. If I'm a homeowner, and I'm sorry, I've never myself lived in a home with a septic, what are they inspecting? So to help people understand what an inspection should include. When we started this exercise in February 2016, our plumbing inspector created a 3-page checklist that's very comprehensive. Every time an inspection is done, that report is coming back to the city. But we'll work to educate the homeowner, who's the consumer of that product, to understand what's entailed in that inspection.
Chair. Mr. Zorn, with respect to this education process, I would like to make sure that we emphasize the health aspect of having a failed septic system. That should be emphasized highly.
Absolutely. I shared with Council earlier that about 2 years ago, we had a failed septic system, and they were on well. At the time, we dealt with replacing the septic system and connecting them to sewer. We also had the water tested and also got the family connected to city water, simply because the water was not safe to drink. I mean, the fecal material ends up in that water table. It leaches eventually.
Okay. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay.
That's it.
Ms. Taylor?
Thank you. Through the chair, I'm very happy to see and hear the issues are being resolved. I have a question, though, that I forgot to ask earlier. Who will be doing the inspection? Will it be a city inspector or a county inspector? Because my understanding before was that it was Oakland County that was doing the inspecting.
Very early on, when the city established the ordinance, and this was prior to ordinance 5171? 1571, sorry, transposing some numbers. Prior to the ordinance, the county was retained, but here was the math on it. The county was charging the city over $100,000 a year. The last year they did it, only 40 inspections was done. It was not hitting the city's records. If we were to get through the process a third, we needed to probably be spending about $600,000 and getting 100 done. So what we did was, when the ordinance was rewritten, is you have a list of private inspectors to choose from. And they're the ones who do that inspection. And we're going to work to bring that price down too. We're not just going to bid the unit pricing, but we're going to try to get better pricing on the cost of those inspections as well.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Mayor?
I think the other question that some members of the audience or people watching at home would have is, so what happens now? And anybody that's scheduled with a court date will be dismissed.
Nolly-prost.
Nolly-prost is the correct legal term, but in other words, it'll be dismissed. And the council will be reviewing the amendment to the ordinance or the changes to the ordinance at its next meeting. I think it's the 15th? 16th of October.
Staff will also come back with amendments to your loan program, creating a few new components that help people who are income eligible. What we discussed was in the household size, 80% of the area median income households just under that $42,000 range would qualify. So if you have a couple retired living on a fixed income, if the two of them living income under $42,000, we should be able to help them with the TAP. And what's being recommended is an interest-free deferred loan that does not have to be paid back onto point of sale.
So to be clear, anybody that's got something pending in court, I think there are maybe 2 cases this week. They will not move forward until the ordinance changes. More or less, we're starting all over with this process so that people have options now rather than being forced to go on city sewer.
And Mr. President, there's still a few other ideas that staff has had that we're going to continue to vet our way through. And, you may see some other things. Next meeting you'll see a couple clear recommendations, but there are a few other things that we're getting prices on, and we're trying to, we're trying to get a system that's work. And this has always been about, the most basic function we provide: public safety, public health and safety, sanitation is a key component that it's real easy to take for granted in the advances we've made in our society. But I think in the summer, every time we hear of, one of the beaches being closed, one of the, the kid may be playing in the Rouge and this is what that's about. It's a basic health and safety function. And myself and my staff certainly understand the hardship, what this costs the family. I mean, these are big numbers. And then it's shocking to find out that people who weren't aware of to buy a home and then find out you don't have this connected to sewer and you have this potential liability. That's a big hit.
Are there any other questions? I would like to make a comment. Mr. Zorn talked about the contamination, but I grew up in a rural area and on the septic system, and I can tell you, not from experience, but I can tell you from other people's experience that this is extremely important that you don't have a failing septic system, because depending on where your well is located in relationship to your septic system, if it leaches into your soil, it can get back to your well pipe, go down your well pipe, contaminate the water, then you don't have any water to drink. And I know no one wants to spend their lifetime drinking bottled water. But it is so important that you do it the right way so that it doesn't fail. If you have enough acreage that you can put in a new septic system. But you need to do the math too, because connecting to the sewer system and putting in a new septic system, that's your decision to make. I'm not going to try to scare you into saying connect to the sewer, keep the septic, whatever. But you need to do the math and the comparison and decide which way you want to go. If you don't have the property and your septic system has failed, there's no chance and you can't fix it. There's nothing you can do except either connect to the sewer or move out of your house, because it'll be unlivable if it's contaminated your water. So and I'm not trying to scare anybody, but I just want you to be fully aware of the consequences of what can go wrong if you're not careful. Thank you. What would you like us to do?
Earlier, council took a consensus towards this matter, and the city attorney and my office will continue to proceed. In our next meeting in October, we will be presenting a proposed amendment to the ordinance, as well as other changes to the loan program and the others and items discussed.
Okay, and just for the record, I'd like to do a consensus again to get it on the record.
Mr. Chair, I do have a question.
Yes.
I remember there was a resident that came and he said that he didn't have a sewer system to hook up to. What happens in that case?
In the Circle Drive situation, if that's the case, I've got a communication from HRC. That is almost a $2 million fix for 9 people. And the math on that one's a real challenge. But we are looking at solutions, and there have been some discussions about a possible shared septic system. We're going to put our heads together on that. But in the last week, I've got the history of why it didn't happen back in '98, what the potential cost for it was in 1998, what would it cost today, and then I'm looking at the number of homeowners impacted. It's a tough one from the math. I mean, we spent $38 million to assist 1,800 homeowners. And that's the right thing to do. This is just under $2 million for 9 people, trying to make some. So we may come back and say, we want to see a septic system here and something shared. And that'll be a whole different dialogue.
That's going to be it too. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we're trying to get creative and something where the math makes sense and the economics.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So on the table at this time is the plan that Mr. Zorn outlined for the sewers, or the septic to sewers. And I'd like to have a consensus that we move forward with this plan, keeping the residents aware of what's going on. And keeping also in mind, if a fresh idea comes up, that it can be incorporated into this plan to make it even a better plan. So I will start with our newest member.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
And I say yes.
Mr. President, I'd like to thank council for your patience on this. I'd like to thank the mayor for his brokering in different concepts on this, and Council President, the mayor and I have spent a couple of conversations. City attorney drove her nuts with lots of questions, and she's used to that, so thanks.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before I open the mic for the communications, I'd like to read something, and it's a disclaimer that no speaker may make personal or impertinent attacks upon any officer, employee, or city council member, or other elected official that is unrelated to the manner in which the officer, employee, or city council member or does their job. No person shall use threatening or abusive language when addressing the city council. Any person who violates this action shall be directed by the president to be orderly and silent. If a person addressing the council refuses to become silent, then when so directed, such person may be deemed by the presiding officer to have committed a breach of the peace by disrupting and impeding the orderly conduct of the public meeting of the city council, and may be ordered by the presiding officer to leave the meeting. If the person refuses to leave as directed, the presiding officer may direct any law enforcement officer who is present to escort the violator from the meeting. And with that, I will open the communications, and the first person that has asked for an opportunity to speak before the council is Mr. Leon Lucas. If you're here, please come to the microphone, give your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Leon Lucas. I'm representing the Homeowners Association, the Green Tree Homeowners Association. I want to go directly to my concerns, to our concerns, as you probably have them in front of you. Number one was a felling chimney at 28815 Murray Crescent, and the reason that is on the agenda is because we have been continually, over the last few months, trying to get a chimney repaired or removed. This morning, it was removed. So happens this morning. Second is that was the falling chimney. Our thorn in our side is Tim Horton, ladies and gentlemen. We have been after them to clean up, to fix up, and we've been wrestling with them. We know that their headquarters is in Toronto, and I've tried to contact the managers there. We get smoke and mirrors. This morning, I talked to Supervisor Maria. My time's running out here, but and I checked the runover, the area of high vegetation. They trimmed around the fence, but I found out that that's a drain. That's not a problem that's with birds or animals or anything. If in fact it's a drain, water is not going to run down all that high. Weeds, they're weeds, that's what it is. Let me move quickly to the absentee landlord situation that we're having in our community, where we see houses vacant, we know that there's rentals, and I'll let you, since you have it in front of you, I won't go through every address, but out of 2 of them, they were certified to be rented. The others are, one of them is on hold for whatever reason. So I asked of you that our problem, because we're kind of new at this, is that we get smoke and mirrors. We call and it's someone else's department or this building or it's this or that. And maybe it's our frustration, but you have to understand that we're interested in curb appeal, and the center of it all considers the whole city of Southfield, not just Evergreen, where I see them cutting grass on Sunday, and I got a feeling that's overtime. It may not be, but and then I go other places and see it's not maintained. So I bring to your attention in my last seconds here that you would consider that the Tim Horton situation right now is a thorn in our side, and not our side, it's the community. In my last seconds, I'd say, if you know Kroger's, they did a whole landscaping of that, and they did a good job, and they're remodeling, and they're making our city look like it should be. Thank you. That was it.
Okay.
Chairman,
Mr. Fracassi.
before they sit down, this is the new group from Green Trees. I live over there, and these are the real workers making big changes in our subdivision, and I would like to publicly congratulate all the work they're doing.
Thank you, neighbor.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Also to Mr. Lucas, I am collecting, if you have a rental home in your neighborhood or suspected rental homes, if you turn them into my office, we will investigate them, make sure that they're registered, and then once they're registered, they have to be inspected.
Thank you.
Mr. Lucas, is this the Tim Hortons near the school there?
Yes, on 12 Mile Road.
Right, that's why. Isn't there, through the Mr. Zorn, isn't there something code enforcement? If this is a obvious problem, can't they be obviously ticketed?
Code enforcement's been out there working since it came to our attention. You talked to me about it, and I talked with our city attorney, and she called Maria Calhoun, who is the head of code enforcement, and they went out and got started on it. It does take some time to get things cleaned up, but we're actively working on it right now.
May I make one last comment? I don't have any time, but if you look at it, it looks like
Okay.
How they doing that? Because they trimmed around the fence and the weeds was this high. You know, if it's a runoff for water issue, Mr. Calhoun gave me that explanation this morning, that it's a drain. And if it's a drain, how's the water gonna run off if it's filled with weeds?
Okay, we'll work on it. Thank you.
And Mr. President, I know that one of the issues with that was it's the contour, that they needed to get some kind of special equipment to be able to cut that, because it is like a drainage type facility. So they may have just done around it pending getting some equipment where they could do that, because it's not just a level ground.
I remember, if I recall right, a number of years ago, Duns Scotus had a water retention basin, and they couldn't get in there to mow the grass when it wasn't filled with water.
Right, and I think
it looked terrible.
Right, I think that's a lot of what's going on here.
Yes.
So I know that they're at least on the issue.
Okay. The next person that asked for a recognition is Charlie Gillum. If you'd come to the microphone, give your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon. I'm Charlie Gilliam, precinct delegate of 20, elected. First, I'd like to say to the quiet one, that the late councilwoman that left us, she's going to be well missed. And her class, her charm, her smile is really going to be missed. Also, her leadership. You know, I've been knowing her for over 15 years. And not once have I seen her get into with any one of you guys. You know, it's all profession. You know, I know all of your tempers go up with one thing, but she never disrespected or says anyone you while a session was in order, like call you out your name like punk or something. Recently, I was in Florida, and they have city ordinance there about swimming after dark. You know, in the swimming pools, in the backyards, on the beach, they say keep out the water. They have to remind the residents every decade as they grow older, and because a full-grown gator can weigh 400 or 500 pounds, and for what I understand, a gator can stay underwater, hold its breath for up to 2 hours without moving. And so, you know, here in Southfield, we too have ordinance. We have ordinance about, you know, our school kids, you know. We had a big problem there at Northland, which we don't have no more. You know, during school hours, elementary and junior high school kids are not to, you know, to be served in, you know, in Northland or go to a party store, get chips and things. They are supposed to go to school and go right home. Now, myself, I was working a midnight shift. From 12 to 7. I got up and took my kids. They all grown now. But a few years ago, we was at a backyard party, and they started laughing. You know, they grown now. They got their own kids. And one of them said, yeah, Daddy would come home at 7 in the morning after working all night and take us to school and stand there and watch us go into school with his hands on his hips. And he'd come and pick us up the last hour. But what he didn't know, we'll leave it at the 4th hour, 5th hour, go somewhere we didn't have no business. But you know, what I'm trying to say is, enforce that ordinance. Enforce it. I hope you do that. Every so often we have to tell them about it. Thank you for hearing my you know, thank you.
Thank you. The next person is Ms. Pamela Gerald. If you give your name and address for the record, you have 3 minutes.
The Local Officers Compensation Committee or Commission made a very big mistake. On September the 12th, they did an incorrect procedure. Now, the chair of that commission's name is Perry Hulemantel, and he's been on that commission for 40 years. Here's the mistake that was made. On the paperwork, he said in the meeting that they filled out compensations or no compensations for the 4 elected positions, the mayor, the treasurer, the clerk, and the city council. But also on that paper, it said no raise is given at this time. So I'm not sure if the commission actually made a mistake or if it was an intentional mistake. And here are my concerns. You voted to give council a raise, or this commission voted to give council a raise, the mayor a raise, no raise for our city treasurer, who has not had a raise in 10 years. But the most egregious thing that was done was this commission voted to take $14,500 away from the incoming clerk's salary. Now, currently, Nancy Banks gets $99,500.
Don't mention anyone by name, please. I already told you that.
To make sure that this commission is doing the right thing.
Would you please stop?
That particular
I will ask you to leave if you're not careful.
It's not right to take away $15,000 or almost $15,000 from someone's salary. Now, it's quite telling that the city clerk wants to address this commission. Now, if they made this mistake on September 7th, and this went into effect by October the 12th, either by a vote or no action at all, this meant that the clerk would have taken a pay cut, and it would have also been decreasing her pension, because they determine your pension for the last 3 years that you worked. So now all of a sudden, they've scheduled this meeting just right before the election, October the 19th. So what are you guys allowing this commission to do? You got a guy on here that's been there 40 years that can't even instruct people to do the right thing, and that is to proofread and look at what you're signing. I'm not sure why the city clerk wants to even address the commission. It's not a good thing. They made a really big mistake, and I'm going to encourage the people that are listening. This vote is going to come up by this commission on October the 19th. Why don't you come here to the city of Southfield, the executive room upstairs, and hear it for yourself? The commissioner and the chairman and all of those commissioners should just resign. You can't even do a procedure right that affects people's lives.
The next person is Mr. Gerard Mullen. If you'd come to the microphone, give your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Gerard Mullen, Post Office Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037. Mr. Chairman, at the televised council meeting last month on August 28th, I said that under Section 11.18 of the city charter, that this council had erred on June 19th in the counting of the council votes on the proposed charter amendment. Councilman Mandelbaum challenged me on my assertion. The city attorney concurred with Mandelbaum. In a word, I was wrong. I erred because I had failed to read carefully Section 11.18 of the city charter. But the authors of Section 11.18 also erred because they had failed to read carefully the Home Rule Act of 1909. The state law that is the sole authority for amending any city charter in Michigan. In other words, the city charter is currently in violation of state law. Here's how it happened. The authors of Section 11.18 of the charter copied down the applicable section of the state law incorrectly. Let me explain. According to Michigan state law, there are two parts to amending a city charter. Part one, council must first pass a proposal by a 3/5 vote of the members elected in order to place a proposal onto the ballot. And then, part two, the voters must pass the proposal. That is how you amend a city charter in Michigan. But that is not what Section 11.18 of the city charter says. Instead, the authors of Section 11.18 erroneously deleted Part 2 of the state law. and then replace the word proposed in Part 1 with the word amended. And in doing so, the charter now erroneously states that all it takes to amend the charter is a 3/5 vote of the council members elected. And I quote from the section 11.18 of the Southfield City Charter. The charter may be amended at any time by the legislative body on a 3/5 vote of the members elect, unquote. Enough said. Thank you.
The next person is Stacy Jackson. If you'd come to the microphone, give your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening. Stacy Jackson, 21685 Rougewood Drive, Southfield, Michigan, 48033. Well, I must say that I came here fully prepared to assert all the things that I've been doing since August 10th at Beechwood Recreation Center. But what I would like to do is very quickly take a moment to recognize 3 people sitting before me. The first one would be Councilman Mandelbaum, who, from the last council session that was kind of heated, did not walk past the residents, but walked straight up to us to find out more about our concerns after the council meeting. The second would be Councilwoman Taylor, who, before all of this journey started, came out to our homes, to the residents individually to speak with us as a group, to be a trailblazer for this. Third would be our mayor, who earned the respect and in many ways began the steps of restoring public trust for our community by meeting with us on a Sunday afternoon by himself in our association president's home. That's the Southfield that we moved into. So we are honored today that you were able to collectively bring the others into the fold, to not only hear our concerns, but to act on those, to earnestly try to resolve them. That's best for the residents. So with that being said, I would like to thank you all for that, particularly those 3 that I've identified. The residents here are all pleased with that. What we wanted was the same rights given to those previous homeowners before us. And that's what shows that the council, with our mayor as well, is working toward doing. So with that wonderful speech that I was definitely going to come in to light into you, I'm going to keep to myself. But I will say thank you again for that on behalf of the residents and our family. Just to give you a quick rundown, this situation came up from a young family that we met of neighbors, the William and Shayla Glass. And I promised them that our family was a family of activists and that we would make their fight our fight, and that their battle would become our battle. And I am honored tonight to say that this victory that we've gone for you is a victory for the entire community and the rest of the residents of Southfield. With that being said, thank you very much.
My name is Keith Harris. I'm here on behalf of my organization. Say,
your time is up.
Oh, my time is up.
Oh,
come on, I don't look like Keith.
Oh, okay. Never, you're the next person, so
yes.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
Keith Harris, on the behalf of All Race and Life Matter, the Detroit Eviction Coalition, and Moratorium Now. My P.O. Box is 2769. Zip code is 48037. I agree with her. Ms. Taylor, I have so much respect for you. Mr. Mandelbaum, both of y'all stepped up, not around. And then Mayor Sivers, I have to just, I'm a fighter, and I'm telling you, y'all spoiled my day. I was all ready to, put together 200 people and, holler no justice, no peace. Now I'm sitting here, now I don't see nothing but justice. I'm just so proud of this council today. I was in the room with your father when he had his leg done. I'm glad that you turned out to be the man that your father is. And you, Dan, I'm just proud because we have so many veterans that would have suffered. It was the right decision to make. Now I'm working along with pool companies to develop a pool liner. It's a 1-inch pool liner where it would save the homeowner money to line their septic tanks with. It will really work. You know, fiberglass companies, they said they never heard of it, but I have 3 pool companies that are willing to work with me on this new development. And it would save the homeowners thousands of dollars, but I would still like to work along with somebody in the engineering department or somebody who would have a lot more knowledge than this than I do. But like I said, you're looking at some happy people here today, and you need to give yourselves a round of applause today. Thank you.
Yes.
I want to get you linked into LTU with some, we can get you people to work with on a concept like that. I think I know where you're going, but also do a meeting with the people who do reline our sewer pipes. And we can broker that, but this is the type of idea that you want to get into the accelerator, and if it's got merit, let's see, and get some university support behind you too.
The owner of 2 companies said they have never seen it done, but they said if they can also, if they can build fiberglass pools, they can also build fiberglass liners for septic tanks. Just like you would put a whole new liner in your tub, instead of replacing the tub, it's the same system.
I want to get you linked into those folks.
I would appreciate that.
Thank you.
Stacy Dick, 21770 Maplewood Drive. As the Beechwood Acres Homeowners Association president, I would like to thank the council and a special thanks to our dear mayor. He did call me while I was at the apple orchard yesterday at about 2 o'clock. I had no intentions of rushing home, but when he said he would like to meet with the association, nothing was more important than that. So I too want to thank him. My first thought was, are you coming alone? And it takes a brave person to come to a situation that you already know is a bit testy, yet to come because of your integrity and because of your desire to serve the public. So I wish to thank you. This has been a very, very challenging situation for our association, but at the same time, it has brought our association together. So I know the wisdom that always states it takes a village to raise a child, but this time it took a village to uplift our community. And you were a part of our village. So on behalf of our whole association, I wish to thank you. I'm looking forward now to getting all of this in writing, okay, because we want to make everything official. But also I had the pleasure of meeting with Mark Hansel of the Oakland County Health Division, because I had shared with him that our next step, we wanted to meet with the city of Southfield, the county, so that we could come with resolutions and to work together with the education. And so I'm looking forward to when we can have that meeting established so we can begin the healing process and the learning process, because we do have 2 residents whose septic tanks have already failed. And so we really, really need to understand both options, whether it's the sewer or whether it's hooking up to a new septic field. But we need to begin the education as quickly as possible so that we can continue this healing and continue moving our city forward. So again, thank you very much on my behalf and the behalf of the whole association.
Okay, the next person is Mr. Walter Mizan.
I'm Walter Meissen. I live at 22030 Rougewood. And I came here originally when I asked to be able to speak, that we had not heard any information at all, any progress. We didn't know if the can was being kicked down the road or what was going on. And I'm very happy, especially with Mayor Seibert, to have met with the officers and some of the representatives of our association last night. It's wonderful. I remember the good old days. I say good old days because I've been here 54 years. Jim Molnar, Mayor Fracchesi, myself, we used to get together over coffee and talk about just shoot the breeze and talk about things that are so Subdivision Association. It's good to know that this kind of closeness can still exist, and I appreciate that very much. Thank you. I also thank Mr. Zorn, particularly because I was unaware that what was going on and what progress had been made, and tonight's presentation was very encouraging. Thank you.
Okay, the next person is Leroy Burden. If you're here, come to the microphone. Give your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes. I don't see anyone's coming, so. Alma Shannon? Okay. Neil Jones? William Sims? Could you give your name and address for the record? You have 3 minutes.
William Sims, 21905 Maplewood Drive. And again, I just want to say to the mayor, to the council, what you've done for our community is really elating. I mean, to see you act as fast as you act. I know you told us 30 days ago you'd come back, and because you came back and did what you did, we appreciate that. We really do. And again, I think all of us just want to say thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, that's the last person that has asked for recognition. Next item on our agenda is the council, and we need approval on several travel expenses. Travel expense A is for Mr. Daniel Brightwell for the MML convention in Holland.
Also move, Mr. Chairman.
Support.
It's been moved by Mr. Fracassi, supported by Mr. Cruz, that we approve the travel expense for Mr. Brightwell. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried.
I abstained.
Pardon?
I abstained.
Let the record show there were 6 yeas and 1 abstention. The item B is approval of travel expenses for Mr. Fracassi to the MML convention in Holland, Michigan.
Mr. Chair, so move.
Support.
It's been moved by Ms. Morris, supported by Mr. Mandelbaum, that we approve the travel expenses for Mr. Fracassi for the MML convention in Holland, Michigan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Let the record show there were 6 yeas, 1 abstention. The final is approve the travel expense for Ms. Tanya Morris.
Support.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Cruz, supported by Mr. Brightwell, that we approve the expense report for Ms. Morris. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
It is carried. Let the record show there were 6 yeas, 1 abstention. The floor is open for the council. If you have anything that you want to bring before the,
Mr. Chair, I just want to
Ms. Morris?
bring something forward. Yes, I just wanted to provide an update on the Rock the Block program out of the Neighborhood Services Committee. Rock the Block is an exterior home improvement program, and it was held for the 2nd year in a row in the Bonnie Acres neighborhood on September 9th, 11th, and 12th. 14 residents participated, and we had great success. We had people that got their homes painted, they got new mulch laid, they got concrete spotting in their driveways, trees cut, bushes trimmed, a really great success. And I do want to thank Habitat for Humanity for partnering with the City of Southfield on this program. Other partners were WXYZ, Priority Health, the IBE, WNECA union workers, all the other businesses and volunteers and residents in the Bonnie Acres community. Thank you so much. I have received some inquiries as to whether or not this program is going to be held in other neighborhoods throughout the city, and we're going to be talking about that in the next Neighborhood Services Committee meeting. So thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Brightwell.
Mr. Chair, I want to make an announcement that the VFW Hall on 9 Mile will be hosting their weekly spaghetti dinner on the 4th of October from 5 to 7 p.m. And also, I want to, this is prior to the last time I announced this, that the Southeast Michigan Veterans Stand Down will be October 4 and October 5 at 3606 East Forest Avenue in Detroit. That's 48207. That'll be a 2-day stand down where they will actually be assisting veterans who are in need, homeless vets, and also making sure all veterans are taken care of. A number there, if you want to get additional information, is 248-808-0929. That's for the Veterans Stand Down, October 4 and 5th. That's it.
Did you have a time for the spaghetti dinner?
5 to 7 p.m.
5 to 7 p.m.? That's on October the 4th?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else that have anything?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
in the closing session at the conference in Holland, had a young lady come in from Colorado that did a presentation on marijuana, and it was a neutral kind of a presentation, but it's one that I think that everybody should see. It really lays down the facts and nothing but the facts. I don't know who attended that closing session, but she really did a good job, and I'd like the administrator to see if Michael can get maybe a copy of it or something from the Michigan Municipal League. And it really took all those kinds of questions and answered them, and both pros and cons. So it was really right down the middle, and I think everybody could see that and make their own decision from what she's stating. But she really did a lot of in her presentation, but a lot of data, and it was very well done. And you know, that's coming up in the state of Michigan, and I think that we really should get involved with that.
Okay, is that it?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Mandelbaum.
Yes, we have two upcoming events this week that I wanted to remind residents about. The first is on Wednesday, the 27th, here in the council chambers. We're going to be having our Photo Prize Award ceremony. We had many residents who submitted photographs, about 100 entries that were narrowed down. You've probably seen many photographs around, hanging outside City Hall. And there was voting online, some in person, and we're going to have an award ceremony, and some of those winning or top vote-getting photographs will be included in our 2018 calendar. So that's this Wednesday at 6:30. Also, on Thursday, the 28th, from 6 to 8 here in the Southfield Pavilion, we will have a community conversation on the needs of senior adults. COSA, the Commission on Senior Adults, is hosting this community conversation. They're looking for input from residents, businesses, whoever wants to come and give input on some specifics on how we can make the city more senior-friendly as they work towards their AARP designation. So I encourage everyone to attend both events and show support for the amateur photographers or professional photographers, as well as helping the city identify some of the needs for our aging population. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Just really
Ms. Taylor?
quick, and I forgot to ask earlier, as most people know, that I am running for election on November the 7th, but while I'm out walking, a lot of people have asked me about the Northland project, and I had asked earlier about the steering committee, and I know that you all explained to me what it was, but I just remembered that I had also told some of the residents that I would ask you about that particular committee. Could you explain to me again about that committee, just for the record, so that the people that's watching will also receive that information? Because they were asking me when I was out walking door to door, and I promised that I would ask that question for them to receive an answer.
What do you need to know?
What the who comprises the committee and who the committee reports to. My understanding from what you told me earlier that it reports to the council and that it's made up of certain members. And I just want to let the viewing audience know who those people are.
Okay, it's a recommending body, and I'm on it, Mr. Cruz is on it, Mr. Fracassi is on it, the city administrator is part of it, our city attorney is on it, the mayor is on it.
Al Sivas, city planner, city purchasing, Michael Mannion.
Yeah, Michael Mannion, Al Sivas, who is the head of the DDA, is on it. And we're studying what needs to be done over at Northland to make our vision work and bring recommendations back to the city council and periodic updates. We have experts that come in that we're working with that need to do the work that needs to be done over there. So it's a working committee. We meet periodically. It's not every month. It's on call.
So you meet periodically, and is it like open to the public if
No, it's
somebody
not.
wanted? Okay, so it's
It
not
is
an
not
open
open to the
meeting.
public.
Okay, all right, thank you. That answered the questions that was asked of me. Thank you very much.
I would like to offer a belated Happy New Year to the observant community.
Yes.
And I presume many happy returns is in order. So,
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Well, Mr. Mandelbaum stole my thunder, but the two events this week. Very pleased about the photo prize. The reception is 6:30 Wednesday night. I'll just repeat that. And then, of course, we're very supportive of the work that COSA is doing to, as we have an aging population in Southfield, and we're certainly want that designation as a age-supportive and friendly community. And then, obviously, I'm very pleased, and I thank the council for your support of the compromise that we worked out with the Beechwoods neighborhood. We've spent about 3 weeks looking at that process, and obviously, our community is pleased. And we've got work to do, obviously, on an education campaign. It really became very clear to us that a lot of people did not know very much about septic tanks or didn't even know that they had a septic system when they bought their home. So that's some work we have yet to do. Thank you.
Mr. Administrator?
I am fine. I have nothing else this evening.
Okay. Ms. Clerk?
Madam Chair, I move the expense report of,
Oh, I'm sorry.
or in other words.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Do you want?
Yes, I was headed off to the treasurer, but I forgot about the expense report. Go ahead.
Nancy Banks, Holland.
Support. It's been moved by Mr. Fracassi, supported by Mr. Cruz, that we approve of the travel expense report for Ms. Nancy Banks for the MML convention in Holland. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried. Now, anything else? Treasurer? Planner? Assessor and engineer? None are here. There's nothing to schedule. We have some ordinances that we have to deal with this evening.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Mandelbaum.
I'd like to move that we enact ordinance number 1681. Support.
It's been moved by Mr. Mandelbaum, supported by Mr. Cruz, that we enact ordinance number 1681. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Mandelbaum.
I'd like to move that we enact ordinance number 1682.
Support.
It's been moved by Mr. Mandelbaum, supported by Ms. Morris, that we enact ordinance number 1682. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? It is carried. Is there anything else to come before the council this evening? If there's nothing more, this meeting is adjourned.